Priyanka Chopra turns beauty tycoon from a beauty queen, launches her Anomaly line of beauty products in India in collaboration with Nykaa. Business Today TV brings you an exclusive conversation. After the US Fed hiked interest rates by 75 basis points last night, markets ended the trading day with marginal cuts. While IT and power stocks were lagging in trade, Nifty PSU banks shine. Nifty managed to remain afloat above 18,000 and ended nearly 30 points lower by about 0.17%, while the Sensex ended the day down about 70 points. 60,836 is the level we saw at close. Some of the gainers in trade: SBI, Titan, UPL, Bajaj Auto, HUL, while the top laggards included Tech Mahindra, Hindalco, Power Grid, Eicher Motors and NTPC. The rupee, on the other hand, fell by 10 paise to close at 82.9 against the dollar. The Reserve Bank of India's Monetary Policy Committee met today to finalize a report for the government on why it failed to keep retail inflation below the target of 6% for 3 consecutive quarters since January this year. The report will be presented to the government as per the Reserve Bank of India Act. The 6-member Monetary Policy Committee is headed by the RBI Governor, Shaktikanta Das. The meeting, incidentally, comes just a day after the US Fed hiked rates by 75 basis points to check inflation. Business Today TV Managing Editor Siddharth Zarabi spoke to economist Madan Sabnavis on the significance of the meeting. Listen in.
What this special meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee is all about. When it was announced for a brief period of time, there was some amount of speculation that is another rate hike coming, but then it became clear through the text of the announcement that this was with a different purpose. So set the context for what is being discussed by the MPC today.
Yeah, thanks, Siddharth. You're right. When they did make the announcement that there would be an MPC committee meeting, even we did feel that there would be some deliberation on interest rates. And it came as a relief that, especially for the markets, that it had nothing to do with interest rates, but with something more fundamental about the way in which the MPC operates. Now, here it'll be interesting to go back to 2016 when the MPC was formulated. At that particular point of time, it was felt that the MPC should also be responsible for whatever happens in terms of the policy stance that is taken by the committee and the impact it has on economic variables, especially inflation. So the MPC mandate had said very clearly that the committee had to target an inflation rate of 4%. There was a band of 2% on either sides, which was kept open, which means that inflation had to be between 2 and 6% for all times. And in case inflation was above 6% for a protracted period of time, and now it's been so for 9 months, then it was felt that the RBI is answerable to the Parliament, and therefore the RBI will have to provide an explanation as to why is it that inflation has been so high. What is it that the RBI has done in order to control inflation? And lastly, as to at what point of time or how much of time would be taken before we get back on the right path of inflation. So that was basically the mandate which was there when the MPC was formulated. And as we all know, the MPC has 3 members from the RBI and there are 3 outside experts, all economists from the academic world or from anywhere else. And therefore, it's a joint decision which is taken. So I think the deliberations was essentially as to what should go into that particular letter, because this is something which becomes legislative in nature, in the sense that RBI writes to the government, it has to be presented to the Parliament, where you actually explain as to why is it that inflation has been so high and what are the steps which the RBI has taken and will probably be taking, in order to control inflation. And since we're talking of a letter from the RBI, necessarily you have to call the MPC to deliberate as to what should be the content.
Okay, would I be correct in saying that this is largely a procedural meeting, or should I be asking you about the fact that this is perhaps the first time such a meeting and such a reply is going from the MPC, RBI to the government? Does it represent a failure of the MPC to control inflation?
See, actually, Siddharth, it's a combination of both. It's actually a procedural thing, because I would not be reading too much into what's going to be the final outcome in terms of what the RBI writes and how the government reacts. But it'll be interesting to see as to what exactly the RBI would be mentioning in the letter, because I don't think in any other country we see the central bank being held responsible in this particular manner, that you're actually answerable as to why inflation has not been brought under control. So therefore, I think the content of what the RBI writes, which again, I think is very logical for one to conclude that we all know why inflation was high, why
Right.
monetary policy did not work. So I think we all know what will happen, but I think that's what the entire process is. So therefore, it's procedural, but at the same time, fairly unique.
Would I also be correct in asking you that does this exercise reek of a situation where the fiscal authority, the political authority, the lawmakers seem to be, at least in the public eye, putting all the blame on the RBI for inflation control, when we know that inflation in India is not just a monetary phenomenon?
No, that's right, because I'm quite sure that when the RBI gives its reply, it will say that it has done everything that can be done, and it's still doing what it has to do, because the RBI only has one particular tool to use, which is the repo rate. And once it was convinced that growth was stable, then it started increasing rates. It has been doing so quite relentlessly. But I'm quite sure that they will also mention that when you're giving the causes of inflation, that effect of taxation, for example, we have seen the GST, which was extended to other commodities, to essential commodities. We have seen that the states have not been responding in terms of lowering their tax rates on fuel products, and that has sort of fed into this entire inflationary spiral. So I'm quite sure that the RBI will mention this, though maybe not directly, but they will definitely give what else has to be done in order to control inflation. And definitely, to my mind, I would agree with you that it's a joint decision, it's a joint control which has to be taken by the government and the RBI, because monetary policy can work only to a certain extent.
One of the pioneers of the Indian IT space, Infosys, is under intense fire for its latest HR move. The IT giant has cut the variable pay of a section of employees to 60%. This comes as a shock for employees, as the company had announced stellar second quarter numbers, netting a profit of more than 6,000 crore rupees.
TCS, Wipro, two giants of the Indian IT industry, now joined by a third, Infosys, in slashing the pay of their employees. The Bengaluru-based IT major has slashed the variable pay of its employees for a second quarter in a row. Last quarter, the variable pay was slashed to 70%. This time, the cut is deeper, to 60%. Business Today TV has access to an internal email which brought the bad news. The email clearly says that on the basis of the company's performance in the July to September quarter of this financial year, the board has approved performance bonus payout at 60% for three categories of employees. Interestingly, variable pay, or the performance pay, depends on the contribution of employees and the performance of the company. And this is raising questions about the company's move. Infosys had, after all, announced better than expected results last month, bucking the overall slowdown in the IT sector. The company's net profit in the quarter was up to 11% to 6,021 crore rupees, while the revenue rose a healthy 23% on year to more than 836,000 crore rupees. The overall results, much better than what analysts expected. TCS had earlier announced a cut in variable pay to 70%, while Wipro had slashed its remuneration to 85%. The latest announcement by Infosys and the others is just another in a series of blows to the IT sector. The attrition rates for all IT companies are more than 20%. Despite the high attrition, hiring has slowed down. Freshers are facing inordinate delays in onboarding, with several IT companies having given offer letters but no jobs. And to make the matters worse, the global economic scenario is not encouraging for IT companies.
The variable payout paid to employees in the IT sector has two components. One that is dependent on the employee's performance, which is paid out every month, and the other which is dependent on the company's performance, which is paid out every quarter. Despite bringing in bumper profits, Indian IT giants like TCS, Infosys and Wipro have scaled back on variable pay, trying to make up for the shrinking margins. The big question here is, despite dwindling loyalties among employees and rising attrition rates, was this the best move to do? This was Akanksha Chaturvedi for Business Today TV.
Big changes in how you use WhatsApp and what it can do for you. The Meta-owned messaging platform has rolled out Communities, a feature which will allow people with similar interests to come under one umbrella. Along with this, WhatsApp is also rolling out the ability to create in-chat polls, 32% video calling, and groups with up to 1,024 users. Why and how do these features matter to you? That's explained by my colleague Rachna Thanrujani.
WhatsApp has introduced a new feature called Communities. With an intention to enhance a user's group chatting experience, this feature is like having a super group that can unite multiple groups and users over one topic, all under one umbrella. The popular messaging app has suggested that this new feature can come in handy for neighborhood, parents at a school, or people working in the same office. It will be like an umbrella under which multiple groups, announcement channels of similar nature can be put together. So how you use it is that a new tab will be available for Communities on top of your chats if you're an Android user, but if you have an iOS device, it will be at the bottom. From there, users will be able to start a new community from scratch or add their existing groups to form a community. And once a user is in a community, they can switch between the available groups to get the information they need, and admins can send important updates to everyone in the community. Along with this new feature have come 3 new updates from WhatsApp. Now the app will allow 32 people to be on a video call. Remember, it was in September that WhatsApp rolled out a feature that allows a user to share a link for a call or a meeting. And now with this latest update, more participants can be added in that meeting. So this can be seen as WhatsApp trying to match with the likes of Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Another update is that now 1,024 users can be added on a group conversation from the current capacity of 512. Besides this, now a user can also hold a poll while chatting in a group, which can be useful now that the capacity of group has also increased. The company said that these additional features and updates can be used in any group conversation, but they will be particularly more useful with their newly introduced Communities feature. Meanwhile, here in India, where WhatsApp has its biggest user base of about 487 million, the new features will not be available immediately. They will take some weeks to be available, though the rollout date is not yet known.
Let's take a very quick break. Back with more on the other side.
I don't read the news. I read between the lines to tell you the true version of events, the true story of our times.
To document grief, the toughest assignment for any journalist to be.
From those who matter.
Women politicians going to stick up for each other.
Of those who should matter. I document the truth. I don't distort the truth. I don't glamorize the truth. I don't gloss over the truth.
The ghosts of India's contentious medieval history have come knocking again.
I hustle for the truth. On the ground, in the newsroom, in the studio. I don't try to grab eyeballs.
I inform you to make you see the point.
To the point with Preeti Chaudhary. At these times, only on India Today.
Co-powered by RK Marble, Khoobsurat Imandari. In association with JioMart, Har Ghar Ka Mart.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
So sorry.
जनाब हालत होगी हमारी बकार और थू थू कर रहे हैं इवन हमारे शोएब भाई और वकार। अपना दुख ये मैं बयां करूंगा बजा के गिटार। क्रिकेट की दुनिया का बादशाह हूँ, स्कोर करूं मैं हरदम। आईसीसी ने कर दी ताजपोशी और बन गया मैं क्रिकेटरे आजम। फिर मेलबर्न में तूफान उठा और दुनिया पूरी डोली। बादशाह की हुकूमत खत्म हुई और किंग बन गया कोहली। और दफा करो गिटार को, रोना आ रहा है। याद रहेगी बैटिंग उसकी, मेलबर्न हो या हो सिडनी। और रह रह कर दर्द उठता है और दिल जिगर हो या किडनी।
India Today Conclave, November 4th and 5th, Mumbai. Listen to Nitin Gadkari, Kiran Rijiju, Devendra Fadnavis, Aditya Thackeray, Abhishek Bachchan, Varun Dhawan, Lara Datta, Pawan K. Verma, Ramachandra Guha, Devdutt Patnaik, Pratik Kuhad, Ankur Wariku, Srijan Sharma. Book your seat now. Visit www.indiatodayconclave.com. Conclave Mumbai 22. Presenting sponsor Vedanta, transforming for good.
Presented by धूल आए पर घर पे ना टिक पाए।
You are watching
India Today.